thank Corbin Church for this exciting opportunity to tell all of my story, as well as all the retailers across the country who have sent their condolences. I can't believe it's been 2.5 months already, and how blessed I am to be here, and here speaking. God is great. On May 3rd, my life has changed forever. Like any 24-year-old, I thought I had the world by its horns. I had just finished my second full year of coaching quarterbacks at Robert Morris University and was on pace to graduate with a 3.8 GPA with a master's degree in leadership and sports management, which I have obtained this week. Thank you. During that week, I went home to Central PA to recruit up-and-coming senior student athletes, as well as to surprise my mom, Wendy Crouse, who had recently had double fusion back surgery. After completing the week of recruiting, I decided to take a fishing trip with a buddy of mine who had been going through some serious drug issues before I went back to Pittsburgh. Everybody had been giving up on him. Not me. That day I asked my dad for a fishing vest. I always stole his. He reminded me that my grandfather, who passed away in 2009, left me his fishing vest as a part of his will. My grandfather all his life was a preacher and a son of God, so I was honored to wear his vest. As I cleaned it out, that vest that day, I removed everything with the exception of an old trout stringer that was roped. Later that day, as my fishing trip concluded, catching nothing, rain clouds started coming in and a massive storm hit. I was deep in the woods and miles away from home. My buddy and I got back on our side-by-side ATV and started our way back. On the way back, it was raining so hard and we were soaked from head to toe. About a mile into the trip, we went around a turn, and in front of us was a fallen tree. I swerved to miss the tree, and the back tail of my four-wheeler hydroplaned and sent us towards the bank at between 25 to 30 miles per hour. I yelled to my buddy, "Hold on," and we wrecked. Everything happened so quick, and my first reaction, of course, was to yell and make sure he was okay. Instantly, he came running and screaming bloody murder. That's when I looked down and saw I had an open compound fracture in my fibula and tibia. My left foot was about a foot to the left of where it should have been. I was scared for my life, always being afraid of blood, etc. My buddy was crying and telling me he loved me as if I were going to die right there. I'm not a quitter. For some reason, I remained calm and told him to apply the rope as a tourniquet. I told him about the fishing vest and about the rope. Coincidentally, the only thing I left from my grandfather's vest. He had to be there. I then told him to try to get the four-wheeler back on all fours as it was leaning on a tree. He did, and magically the four-wheeler restarted. He then picked me up and got me onto the four-wheeler, and we took off to attempt to save my life. The four-wheeler only went about 10 miles per hour, and we were racing time as well as blood that was bleeding out of my knee. Once we got off the trail and onto a back road, we came across a gentleman who was in his truck trying to get cell service. We yelled and asked him for help. When he saw my leg, it was almost as if it took the life right out of him. We headed back towards town, and the first house we came across happened to be a family friend. She immediately called 911, and the local EMT came to rescue. I lay there praying and fighting not to pass out, asking the EMTs if I was going to live, as I was scared to death. Then I heard the EMT tell her colleagues to call Life Flight. That's when I really became scared to death. The worst part of the whole experience, before I got Life Flight, was when I got there, my mom finally arrived after her midday nap. I remember being on the stretcher, being pushed away, and watching my mom drop to her knees because they would not let her see me. It was too bad. That's when my new life started. I was life-flighted out to the PA for one night. It was too severe that they ended up life-flighting me again to Danville, PA, where I stayed 27 days. During those 27 days, I learned a lot. I went under the knife 14 times, had 2 leg amputations, needed over 25 units of blood, and lost 50 pounds. This is also where I regained my faith and realized what I wanted to do with my life. This was to inspire and help others. I knew how lucky I was to be alive. Friends and family supported me, came up with donations, especially two women in our audience, Cheryl Sandquist and Amy St. Clair. I look at those two women as angels, and they came up with the idea to start a website and ask for donations. Every day in the hospital was a fight, and obviously an obstacle. On May 24th was also a day that would change forever. It was my 24th birthday on May 21st, and I had an infection 6 inches above my knee and went into septic shock. I was day to day from leaving the hospital. About a week later, on May 30th, I finally got the greatest news of my life. I was finally leaving the hospital. I cried out loud and thanked God and my grandfather for being there at my accident. I knew that my life was going to change for the better forever. This is when I found my new passion in inspirational speaking and why I'm here today. My story can help anyone, and that's what is amazing about it. Perseverance, getting up off the floor. During my time in the hospital, I realized that there is God and miracles can and do happen. I now have a new respect for every day I'm faced with. You only get one life. There's a few sayings that every day that I came up with that helped me get through. One, which I have t-shirts that I'm selling, it's on the back of one, is you can take my leg, but you can't take my heart or charisma. Another one is get better or get worse. I tell myself this every day when I'm working. Get better or get worse. You're never going to stay the same. I've also learned through each day and struggle that it is all mental, and you have two ways to go, up or down, positive or negative. I look at the negative as the devil, and to hell with the devil.
Yeah. Amen.
In the end, we control our thoughts of things. One thing I know with this being a business seminar is you're going to have good and bad days, just like I did. You're going to go into purse parties where women don't show up that you anticipated. Your sales aren't going to be as expected. But you must realize that it's all about attitude. Keep fighting. Life is about what you put into it. Sales are tough. Life is tough. But in the end, attitude changes it all. Right now, I would like to bring up a special woman in my life. My best friend. My mother, Wendy Crouse. The biggest reason I've ever remained positive during this time is because of my mother. She is the strongest person I know, my hero, my rock, and the person I strive to make proud every day. Growing up, times were tough. I remember churches donating food to the house. I grew up on fruit cups and tuna sandwiches. I was the little kid in the classroom that stunk the class like fish up every day. She always told me to follow my dreams. Like many young boys, I had a dream of playing the NFL. I didn't make the NFL, but I did play in college and eventually professional arena football. But that wasn't the point. The point was about how to deal with adversity, attitude. Even being on welfare growing up, she always kept a smile on her face and fought for our family. I always made it to practices, always had Nikes on my feet. She never missed a game no matter how far she had to travel. She taught me to be positive whether win or lose. Thank your teammates and coaches, and to always work hard. My senior year of college, I was benched for a freshman. I took the positive out of it and eventually rewarded me with my coaching job. So as I stand here thankful to be alive and to see how far I've come, it's because of you, Mom. You're what picks me up. You are what picks me up when I'm down, knocks me down when I'm too high. You are my biggest fan as well as worst critic. You're what inspires me every day. You're my best friend and fuel to my fire. You're the hardest worker I know and one of the best people I've ever met. Without you, I'm not standing here with a smile on my face, knowing that God has a plan for me. You're the reason I'm going to make my story huge and help others along the way. I guarantee all of you, this will not be the last time you see me.
Yeah.
You are also the reason that I know the key values of life, and that giving to others is always better than receiving. I love you so much and thank you. Thank you everyone for hearing my story. And as always, inspire and get better or get worse.
His story. You're a remarkable young man with a lot in store for your future, and thank you so much for sharing. You know, one of the most powerful things, as we talked about earlier, is the Michi community. Because for me, one of the most amazing parts of this story is what you did in this family's time of need. Although we shouldn't have been surprised at the love that you sent to Wendy and the family of the Crouses, we were. We spoke earlier about eyes, and the most powerful element, really, that is available to all of us is eye contact. I saw Wendy a couple of weeks after the accident, and her eyes told the whole story without even saying a word. The story of heartbreak, worry for a child, helplessness, and exhaustion. But I also saw hope and appreciation for the love that every single one of you had extended through thoughts, through Facebook messages, through well wishes, through donations towards her family. And we want to thank you for your example to us. Thank you very much.